I expect our guys to be tough. I expect them to work hard, and I expect them to compete, and I expect that because I and my staff will do the same thing every day.
It may not have been the prettiest game, but the Huskers found a way against Northwestern and moved to 4-3 on the season, above 500 for the first time this year.
Sullivan gets the snap, back to throw, pumps, gets rushed, gets hit, throws down, then a sack. Pulled down again by Nash, his second sack of the game, all the way back at the 30-yard line. Snap down, kick sailing towards the uprights, and the kick is good. He got it in there. That's a career long. Gets the snap, turns, fakes the handoff, keeps it around the left side, and gets into the end zone. Touchdown, Nebraska. Heinrich Harburg off the left side for 6 points. Trying to set up the screen, steps through the pressure, gets hit, and he's going to go down. Dropped by Jamari Butler with the third sack of the game for the Huskers back at the 6. Back to throw, play action look. Harburg going to take a shot downfield, has a man wide open. Malachi Coleman makes the catch. Touchdown, Nebraska. Snap back to Sullivan. Huskers coming after him hard. He rolls to the right and gets knocked down. It's Williams with the sack.
This week, the Huskers welcome Purdue to town. Nebraska will need some young guys to step up this week as the Huskers enter this contest pretty banged up.
I've never had anything close to this. But you know what? We press on. There's no sadness in me. Like, it's sadness for my guys. You know, I love those guys. When we walk out on the field on this coming Saturday, all but 2 guys will be underclassmen. Guys are learning by fire. You know what I mean? We have enough players to win with, and we got guys who can help us. So we just have to continue to step up. This is the challenge this week is, hey, let's take care of the football. This Purdue team that we're facing, they're going to put pressure on you. They're going to come after you. Coach Walters is a defensive mastermind. We're facing another team coming off a bye week. When you have a young team, they have to be able to adjust quickly. We have a lot in front of us, so we cannot put the ball on the ground. We have to protect the football and battle it out to the very last play of the game.
It's football time in Lincoln. The Huskers and Boilermakers are set to battle it out. Now, let's take you inside the Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center for this week's episode of Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac.
Touchdown, Nebraska.
Also brought to you by Midwest Ford. Here's your host, Ben McLaughlin.
It's another college football Saturday, Cornhusker football Saturday here in the capital city in Lincoln, Nebraska. The Cornhuskers today battle the Purdue Boilermakers, and we have officially flipped the weather calendar to whatever season's next. It feels like we skip fall every year, almost to winter time. It is brisk out there this morning, and another opportunity for the Big Red today to keep this streak going and get another Big Ten win against the Boilermakers, another first-year head coach in the league with the Boilers. Good morning, late morning to you, and we welcome you into another Dakota Mac Husker Game Day show. Ben McLaughlin joined, as always, by former Husker national champion running back Damon Benning, DB. Are you going to make it today, dress-wise? I mean,
yeah,
you're
I'm a little light. A little light, but it's kind of my MO, right? I dress the same in the summer. I'm hot in the summer, and I manage in the winter. The attire is the same, just like my house. It just stays on 70 all year round.
Is it you don't like layering up thing,
yeah,
or is it
I just don't. So in the summer I wear a sweatshirt and shorts, and in the winter I wear a sweatshirt and shorts, and I hope that typically suffice. Today I broke down and wore pants, so that's kind of a bummer, but I thought about it.
Greg Sharpe and I tried to strategize of the booth arrangement today. If windows open were going to be a thing,
yeah.
and I think it's going to be.
I like the fact he's a windows open guy.
Well, so longtime fans of this program and listeners of this show, former host of this show, Lane Grindle, who has moved on to bigger and better things in Milwaukee, he was always a little pretentious in that way with the window temperature. It's not surprising he's a big leaguer now. If it was below 58 degrees,
yeah,
windows were closed. I'm like, how can you be a part of the atmosphere, part of the environment, if we're locked in a little box up here?
I don't. The temp doesn't usually bother me, especially if I'm inside, even with the window open. I mean, my bedroom window's open currently, so I like it. I like the cold, and it's. Most of my temperament from handling the weather stems from when I played here. You couldn't wear sleeves, and it kind of became an ego thing. Wear as little as you could out in practice and see who's the tough guy, and it kind of just conditioned me to be able to deal with the elements.
It's a little funny you mentioned that because I can't tell you the amount of athletes. Alonzo Moore's one that stuck out from Louisiana. We've had a few from California and Texas that, man, like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, this is not.
Well, you remember Jeff Sims' first couple of early practices.
Yeah.
He's like, I think I just have to get used to the cold. He didn't talk about the pace, the physicality. He talked about the weather. So
Sure.
that was interesting.
But hey, if you're going to play the Green Bay Packers or the Buffalo Bills, you better get used to it, right?
Figure it out,
You
right?
can't play in Tuscaloosa, Alabama your whole career.
100%.
Well, we're going to talk about weather a little later on, but, what changes in terms of just hydration and just mental preparation for a day like today? Because you haven't really had a lot of experience with this lately.
Yeah, see, that's the great fool's gold. I think it's the same. I think the ounces of water are the same. I think if you're an electrolytes, Pedialyte guy or gal, I think that stays the same. A lot of times you'll see when the temp drops and you kind of try to negotiate your hydration intake, you pay the price. So I'm a stay what you've always done kind of guy, regardless of what the weather says. Hydrating is hydrating.
This was a really interesting week for me. When we put these shows together, 12 of them, you feel like you can get a little monotonous, maybe talking about the same things week after week. But I feel like this week I was kind of just like a kid in a room full of bouncy balls, I don't know where to go. It seems like one of those crossroad type weeks for a lot of different reasons.
It's a monumental game for one.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, I think the opponent has a lot to do with it. The way the schedule sets up has a lot to do with it. The way Purdue and Nebraska have both played has a lot to do with it. And the current states of really both teams, right? I think we're going to do what we can to address as much as we can in the next 2 hours. But, last week to me, you were more than happy with the win. But going back and rewatching that game wasn't overly pleasurable.
Yeah.
And then kind of the consequences of the game, and I say consequences, I mean the fallout, isn't fun to address either. And that was a lot of the mood of the week with the team, and we're going to dive into the injuries and all that. But the first thing that I thought of, Damon, was how maybe tricky mentally that game was. Because you look at You're more than happy. You're ecstatic with the win. Things are trending in the right direction. You're above 500 for the first time. But also, I feel like just the adversity has to be starting to take its toll on not just the coaches, but the players as well. I guess if you had to put your finger on it from what you heard this week from the players and the coaches that spoke, how would you address or kind of quantify where the team is right now? Because I feel like it's a simple yet complex question.
I think it's as simple as falling back on your training, and their training has been we train multiple guys, we prepare multiple guys to play, and it's kind of the next man up mentality. Now, unfortunately for Nebraska, it's become real life application all too much. Right, so there can be this reoccurring thing where it's like, gosh, this is really wearing on me. But it's still about the process. And they've talked about it since day one. Hey, we want to play a lot of guys. Hey, embrace the opportunity. Hey, we look at it as not. You heard Sat just this week say, hey, you know what? It'd be easy to fall into the woe is me or who's not here. He says, but the way we like to look at it is the other way. Somebody else has got an opportunity. And that's kind of the way you approach it. And so I think the players look at it that way. And at the end of the day, I think you just want to compete. And that's really what it boils down to. It's a game that and days and plays aren't promised to anyone. So, and the number of plays and the number of days aren't promised to anyone. So I think when you approach it from a falling in love with the process standpoint, it makes today more probably exciting maybe than you and I may think from the outside looking in.
You used a buzzword whenever this type of stuff happens, and that's opportunity. And that, to me, that's an interesting yet loaded word, because when you peel back the onion, when opportunity happens in college football and the NFL and baseball, whatever sport it is, and really kind of two things tend to happen. Either a guy kind of disappears and, you don't really notice it, or you're a guy like Malachi Coleman and you make a big play and you're like, okay, this might be something you can work with. Sometimes you see in the NFL when a starting quarterback or running back goes down and, a practice squad guy gets elevated and shows out. And you're like, okay, we might have something here. See it in the NBA with injuries. I think that's such an interesting word because I feel like a lot of times guys will just kind of disappear and they're out there, but they're not really contributing. Mm-hmm. And then every once in a while you'll catch lightning in a bottle with a guy that takes the most of the opportunity and becomes a thing, They start to get more involved in the game plan. They start to become more of a factor with, what the coaches want to utilize offensively or defensively. Through your experience from playing and now coaching, that word opportunity, how have you seen that affect an athlete, both good, bad, or indifferent?
I think the good is that it creates day-to-day competition. Because when you're in practice and you know that you're rewarded, so we've seen it to the good with a guy like James Williams, mm-hmm. right, where there's some opportunities. You've had to move back and forth between the competition squad and your potential travel squad or your dress squad on game days, where you're like, okay, I feel like I have an opportunity to play. Conversely, the guys that have those roles that he could potentially be splitting time with, it keeps them on their game as well. Right, so that's one positive to look at it. Is like it's daily competition. The other way, if you're like, let's say a Malachi Coleman, or a Lloyd, or we saw Doss, we saw 3 last Saturday. It is all about the opportunity. This is why you went to school.
Yeah.
Right, and it didn't necessarily happen the way you envisioned it. But I'm just telling you, I'm sitting across as a guy that's been called to play in spot duties. And has been hurt and had other people take advantage of that. It's what it does to you is it keeps you sharp and it keeps you appreciative of the chances you do have. And as long as that's kind of the thing, I don't think you get distracted by the other stuff.
So this might be a silly question, but when you think about, let's just use, you mentioned Jaden Doss. Let's use him for example. He's missed a lot of time with injury and has just not quite been both physically and probably in the playbook where he needs to be as involved as he would have been had he been healthy. So let's talk about this opportunity and how they're given, right? I feel like the natural answer is the consistency in practice and the productivity in practice, kind of those two words. Is it more than that, or like what are coaches looking for during the week to make them feel comfortable giving those opportunities away?
Yeah, I see coaches play the guys that they trust, so I think it's the ability to repeat the correct things over and over again. It's not even really the splash or, big play ability or anything like that. It's can you follow instructions? Hey, if we're in whatever it is, can you repeat it over and over and over again without any sort of fluctuation? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, coaches play who they trust. Lots of talented guys that watch or end up being spectators because coaches just don't trust what's going to happen. And conversely, there are a lot of guys that play where you're like, well, man, how does that guy just not get unseated? We don't have anybody better. And it's like, yeah, coaches trust him. So ultimately, that's what it boils down to. And people say, coaches play who gives them the best chance to win. Maybe, but I know one thing, they for sure play who they trust. So the ability to repeat things in a productive fashion, Monday through Friday, are typically what yields you results in time on Saturday.
We talk about, all the things that we want to get to here on today's show, and I think something that is glaringly obvious that maybe we haven't spent enough time talking about, and it just seems so out in front of us here, is the evaluation of the play of Heinrich. I feel like with Jess Sims, when the ankle injury, I feel like at this point everybody kind of understands the deal. Heinrich's the guy, until something dramatic happens. How would you assess kind of the week-to-week improvement or comfortability or just the trust, I guess, is the word that you were using with Coach Rule, with a guy that, keep in mind, he hasn't, count on one hand how many games the guy started in his career. Without looking at the stats, I guess, is the trap that most people want to fall into. When you watch him, are you seeing incremental progress? Are you seeing a guy that's learning from all the snaps from week to week.
Yeah, I do think from a level of becoming comfortable, he's definitely that, right? I think he's embraced the role. He's grown into the role. He's kind of in a little bit of he's in a little bit of a holding pattern because he's in one of those spots where he hasn't had enough starts to have to operate on autopilot, where the things just kind of come natural to him. He's still in the I'm a learning phase, and I'm kind of owning my skills. So there's some duality in that degree of difficulty, right? Because usually you reach a point where, okay, it's about refinement or what the game plan is. He's still getting better in a lot of different phases, right? Not only the physical aspects of it in terms of growing in the position and arm mechanics and ball handling and all that stuff that goes with being a quarterback, but just the command of the offense. And so when you're doing both of those things at the same time, you're going to get some of the play that you've gotten from him. And you swapped out he's had a lot of moving parts, right? I was talking to Adrian Martinez the other day on Tuesday, and he said from a continuity standpoint, he said, we don't know how difficult it is as a quarterback to try to settle in and manage an offense with so much different personnel all the time coming in and out, whether it's timing or trust or know-how or nuances or things like that, right? Chiefs fan, right? You've seen Kelsey just improvise.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Because those routes kind of look made up.
And
he's on the same page as Mahomes, right? So just the ability to know where you need to be or what a quarterback likes, they're still evolving in that. And I told somebody the other day with regards to Coach Satterfield in this offense, you don't get the results of winning without Coach Satterfield in it, because you don't get that lifestyle without him in it. Is kind of an easy way to say it, because it's his resolve and his ability to not care about style points just to rack up W's that helps this offense be. This is regardless of whether we like the play calls, or they're in empty, or they're in a 3-by, or no 2-back, or what. Like, that's all debatable. What isn't debatable is his ability to stay the course and get these guys ready to play every week is undeniable. So you have to take the good with the bad.
I'd like to get your thoughts, and I thought this was a really interesting comment that Coach Rule made this week, talking about the natural ebbs and flows early in a quarterback's career that he learned as a coach, and how the situation, the player, the team, the league, none of that really matters. It's just natural, kind of like quarterback comes in, doesn't really know any better, comes out and plays well, just out there playing, has some success, thinks a little bit more the second time around, and starts to play slower.
Yeah.
And then the next kind of ebb and flow is you start to learn a little bit more and think less.
That's part. It's kind of what I was describing earlier about.
So you kind of go up and down here, right, with Heinrich. But I also want to get your thoughts on, just dig a little bit deeper in terms of film study, the paralysis by analysis that sometimes that quarterbacks can feel like, especially when you haven't seen a Coach Walters defense who does the exotic things. They'll blitz 2 corners off the edge. They do all these different things that you're doing it for the right reasons to be prepared and be successful, but at the same time, the paralysis by analysis of overthinking things and slowing yourself down. What's the balance?
Yeah, I tell you. So the word I like to use is command. Once you have command of what you want to do, it's a lot less dependent on what the opponent's doing. So listen, if I know that I'm a G-belly team, or I'm a pro-style team, or I like veer or wing T or whatever it is that you run, right, West Coast, once you have command of that, then the variables that you get from opponents aren't as much variables, right? You have indicators because you're so good with the if-then, with having command of your own stuff, that stuff kind of comes natural. The problem is when you're learning and still developing and growing the command, the variables that people throw at you are that much more magnified. So that's what I think H2 is having to kind of negotiate as he grows in the role as a quarterback, because he's got so few starts, especially at this level. You're not seeing any repeat opponents, it's always something new. So it's easy for those problems to be compounded one on top of the other. And then you add it in that he's always doing it with somebody different. He's got his work cut out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's important context, because it can be easy as fans of a team, Nebraska, Cowboys, whoever it is, to just label a player good or bad based on what you see. You know, sometimes it's just a handful of plays that kind of determine a public perception on a player, but particularly at the quarterback position, for a guy that started, you know, less than 6 games in his career, it's just a difficult situation to be in. And then you throw in, you know, what we're going to kind of break down in our next segment, all the injuries, and it kind of started at receiver, then it bled to the backs. Now it's sunk into the O-line. It's not just a one position group problem now. This is an entire unit
It's a
problem
side of the ball, yeah.
now. And you hope that it stops, right? You hope that it's that this part of it doesn't continue, but I think it just adds to the difficulty of not only the quarterback, but the offensive coordinator, the head coach. I mean, it bleeds into everything. Right. It bleeds into the defense. It bleeds into how important special teams are. So, you know, it just starts to get that snowball rolling down the hill. But I don't know that we've done a good enough job giving our thoughts on Heinrich. I think, you know, you like to just lump it in, you know, and I even said it at the beginning of the show. It's ugly, right? It's not fun to watch. And I think that's just your impression of it. But it's important to kind of dissect why and where the improvements.
Lots of contributing factors.
And how realistic the improvements can be from week to week.
100%.
So
I like
anyway,
it.
thought we'd get started on that. Again, we have a lot to get to. We're going to dive into the offensive line in particular, but more so of just the injuries and how they're happening, why they're happening, what's the result of them happening, who has to step up, all that good stuff to build off of what we're just starting our conversation with here today. This is the Dakota Mac Husker Game Day Show here on the Huskers Radio Network, kicking off our coverage here today, headed to a 2:30 kick between Nebraska and Purdue here at Memorial Stadium. Husker fans, do you know Nebraska consistently ranks as one of the lowest states for electricity prices? Public power, something we can all cheer for. We also have to thank our friends and teachers at Blue Cross and Blue Shield, proud to sponsor Touchdowns for Teachers to recognize outstanding educators in Nebraska. If there's a teacher that makes your community great, find a nomination form at huskers.com/teachers. Selected teachers will win a spring game VIP experience and classroom visit from Herbie Husker. We'll step aside for our first time out. Stay with us. We have so much to come here on the Husker Game Day Show.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Sunday morning. You can smell it. Game day. And the brisket you've been smoking since last night. A day to be with family, a.k.a. fellow football fans. Traditions make Sundays easy to enjoy. Beers do too. Bud Light. Easy to Sunday, easy to enjoy. Bud Light is the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus. Copyright 2023 Anheuser-Busch. Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
It's being well supported by a provider who understands your health interests and goals. It's ensuring you are well connected to a team of caregivers and specialists. It's feeling well cared for by having someone you can turn to who sees you for you. That's the power of being well matched. And that's exactly what CHI Health Clinic's My Provider Match does. Meet the provider who is right for you at myprovidermatch.com.
This is Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac. You're listening to Big Red Football.
This is the sound of a Husker game day. This is the sound of the opposing quarterback getting sacked on game day. This is the sound of someone enjoying a Big Mac. And this is the sound of that same someone getting another Big Mac for free.
All right!
Because the Monday after the Huskers get a sack, Big Mac is buy one, get one free at McDonald's. To review, this is what happens on game day. This is what happens on Monday. This fan is really happy.
All right!
And this is what the lawyers made us say. A la carte only. Price and participation may vary, cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Maybe your hometown celebrates long-standing Swiss traditions. Cow chip throwing. Or even classic car muscle. Everyone has a hometown, and every hometown has a festival. Senex wants to hear about yours. That's why we're launching the Hometown Throwdown. Tell us about your fest, and it could win $100,000. Learn more at CenixHometownThrowdown.com. Cenix, powered locally.
Dear roads, trails, and rivers, you ready for some SUV action? Toyota SUVs can roll their sleeves up for tight turns and twisty trails, dress up for a night out on the town, or head to the great outdoors. Take your family adventure game to a whole new level with the roomy Highlander. Make a serious splash with the rugged, revved-up RAV4. And tow all your toys in the spacious new Sequoia. Don't forget the trail-taming 4Runner and the sleek Venza Hybrid. All Toyota SUVs feature a whole suite of creature comforts to keep you and yours cozy in the cabin. Check out this legendary lineup at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers. Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Baxter Toyota of Lincoln.
Something big is happening. Introducing Hy-Vee Perks. Now, Hy-Vee Fuel Saver is Hy-Vee Perks. Get the same great benefits like fuel savings. Plus, save even more on hundreds of products store-wide with Hy-Vee Perks prices like Tide. H Perks price $9.97. And bananas. H Perks price 39 cents a pound. Make the switch or sign up for Hy-Vee Perks and start saving today. It's free and easy. Some restrictions apply.
Woodhouse Lincoln is bringing you the premium lineup of Lincoln SUVs. Shop all 4 models and be immersed in quiet luxury, craftsmanship, and state-of-the-art tech. Lease a 2023 Lincoln Corsair for $699 per month. Find us in store off 144th and Giles Road or online anytime at woodhouselincoln.com. 36 months for 10,500 miles per year with approved credit. Tax, title, license extra. Security deposit waived. $1,500 down plus first payment and $299 doc fee due at signing. Offer expires October 31st, 2023. See dealer for details.
Let's pause 15 seconds for station identification on the Huskers Radio Network.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Farmers Mutual of Nebraska. Experience the personalized difference when your insurance is kept local. Visit fmne.com to contact an agent near you. This is the Dakota Mac Husker Game Day show here on the Huskers Radio Network. Ben McLaughlin joined by Damon Benning. Cole Hartman producing for us. Rock solid and steady as always. Next to us here in the studio. All right, we teased it going into the break. Injuries. And I think it all just kind of culminated in one play. When we're looking down on the field and seeing Ethan Piper grab at a knee, Billy Kemp grab at a knee, and they're really at that point, my only reaction was to kind of just laugh, you know? Like, obviously it's not funny, but, like, seriously? Another offensive lineman, and as Coach Rule put it, a key part to the game plan and just a spirited leader out there in the receiver room, a much needed with so many freshmen around him. I mean, I guess before we start to peel the onion back, what thoughts on what's happened? I haven't seen anything like
I haven't either. I really haven't. I tried to, I like to be a little bit of a historian, and I kind of racked my brain, but I mean, you're talking about 70% of your starting 11. So I just have never seen it. Never seen it.
And the thing to me, it's not like bum shoulder, miss a week, or tweaked my ankle. High ankle sprain, out for 3 weeks. These are season, potentially career enders.
Real things. And we're not even counting guys like Deshaun Singleton and that we're hoping
Marquise
to get
Buford.
So it's like, it has been it's been a wonder, that's for sure.
Okay, so when you start to think about what this, and let's dive in face first to the O-line here. Continuity is a word you used last segment with the quarterback and his arsenal in the huddle, but I think it's football 101. If your continuity is bad up front, you've got no chance. And I think that is going to be under a massive microscope moving forward for the Big Red, and Coach Raiola is how can he get these new guys not only playing at a level good enough to compete, but in a way in which the offense can still operate?
I tell you, like, patience. It's like, I look at the offensive line, though. Let's just start there with Latovsky and Prohaska and Justin Evans-Jenkins. And, I'm a huge Justin Evans-Jenkins fan. Prohaska is close to our family, so obviously I've gotten a chance to know him, watching him, coaching him growing up in youth sports. So I'm not going to go as far as to say upgrade, because that has yet to be proven, and I'm not going to cast the negative light on the injuries. But my needle isn't as moved to the concern side over those guys stepping in, right? A big Piper guy and Corcoran and what's going on along the offensive line. But I'm not kind of in my feels about that. Where I'm hoping it doesn't manifest itself, where that's already been a problem, is consistency in the passing game. So if I'm Coach Satterfield and I'm this offensive staff with McGuire and Raiola and E.J. Barthel, I'm thinking to myself, okay, we want to get by. We don't want to just get by, right? We want to take care of the football. We want to put ourselves in positions to win, but how do we play to our guys' strengths? And right now, I mean, you're hard-pressed to get in 10 personnel, right? So we'll see how Coach Satterfield continues to grow and progress with kind of playing a forced hand. I mean, he's playing he's been dealt a lot of bad hands, right? We use some card references sometimes. It's like, I mean, my guy's playing 5'8" offsuit, right? And he's having to stay on the table. And so I think his temperament is as important as anything, because he comes across as kind of unflappable. He doesn't really care a whole lot about style. He's not a flashy guy. He's a loyalist by nature. He kind of just stays the course. He's tough-minded. That personality, I think, is what he's coaching into his players on that offensive side too.
So I think what you're saying right now bleeds into my concern with a group like this. And it wouldn't matter if it was O-line, D-line, linebacker, secondary, receiver. I think position's irrelevant at this point.
Okay.
But the thing that worries me is those guys that are now out, and I'm speaking mainly to the guys that have played a lot of football, right? With Ethan and Corcoran, the guys that have been in the lineup for long periods of time. Yeah. We've heard Coach Rule say, we don't win that game earlier in the year. We don't win that game if we don't learn some of those lessons. Those guys are battle-tested in terms of learning those lessons. So it's going to be new to Justin Evans-Jenkins when they return a punt for a touchdown, or Nebraska is in 4-minute offense, or you're in 3rd and 12 in a crucial situation. You got to come up and pick up a blitzer. Some of those moments that are highlighted. Those 5 to 6 swing plays that are going to be put in these guys' laps. That to me is more of a, I wouldn't say concern, but it's going to be top of mind for me in those moments to watch out for those guys in those situations.
Not a bad point, but you could look at it like this though, B-Mac, because I coached like this a little bit, and I think I was coached like this a lot. There's the ability to repeat something over and over to achieve baseline, to just keep yourself in the hunt. Like, don't do it to yourself, right? The self-inflicted stuff. But then the game seemed to narrow down to about 6 or 7 key plays, kind of the ones that you're alluding to. And I almost always looked at that as a positive. If we boil this thing down and we make it just about this, because we like to control the controllables, right? So what's my baseline? Then there are these 6 or 7 plays where a playmaker's got to make a play, where John Bullock has got to get his hands up to get the quarterback to pull the ball back down, because we're beat in a trips bunch route where the tight end is wide open in the end zone and Hartzog has been picked off, right? He got rubbed. He didn't get out in time, but Bullock got his hands up. force the quarterback to pull the ball down. They don't end up getting a touchdown out of that. They try to come back and run the same play. See, that's a play that just goes as an incomplete, but it's a guy making a play that you normally don't see made on a play that had broken down otherwise, or the Gifford screenplay.
Yeah,
where I almost lost my mind.
You and I stood up and
right?
Yeah.
Like I feel bad, and it's a cool thing that Sharpie's so cool, right? Because I wanted to go back to it, and I was like, "Hey, write that down. Don't forget about that play." Like that play was unbelievable, real time, right?
Seeing it from where we saw it is just like how.
And I remember I said to Greg, I go, "That was a field blitz. They ran the play to the boundary." Only one guy could make that play.
1v3.
And he did. Or how about this? How about the scramble from Harburg?
Yeah.
Where you thought he was over the line of scrimmage and he wasn't. And you know how he's just sharp because he's got he's got the binocs and the specs. And how about him last week when I said something about his glasses and he goes, "Yeah, that's typically how these things work. They improve your eyesight."
That's a great response. You do 50+ baseball games with him. You learn to just keep some comments to yourself.
And I think he's hilarious. But so we're watching the play that Harburg made, and it ends up extending the drive, getting the opportunity for points. See, that's a playmaker making a play. That's one of those 6 or 7. So if you can boil it down to just, okay, swing. Those are swing plays. Oh, I can handle that. Can I stay in the moment for 6 or 7 plays? Oh, 100%. So I would kind of look at that as, now you give me a bigger number and I'm kind of a squirrel and I'm a little immature, it may get away from me.
Yeah.
But if I've got to do this to be different for these amount of plays, I kind of like knowing that.
That's a really interesting way to put it psychologically. I never really thought of it like that. I think part of it's because the failure to execute in those situations has piled up on me and every Husker fan forever in the last 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, Garcia said something about seizing the moment, hitting home runs last night that I thought, because he's been a notorious bad ball hitter.
Yeah.
People say, why don't they pitch around him? And, you can get the kind of pitch around strikeout because he'll chase balls out of the zone, right? But he's on a heater. And he said, hey, I only need one. That's how I look at the at-bat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, hey, that's a great way to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not the culmination of how he's being pitched. He's telling you, I only need one.
Mm-hmm. And the one he got last night ended.
Yeah, it's a game ender. So I kind of try to look at it if it's a small number and it's what I can control, I'll look at that as a positive. I wouldn't look at that as like, oh, man, you've only got one pitch to hit. I'd look at it as like, hey, I've only got to hit one pitch.
Yeah.
Right? It's just the emotional psyche and how it can work.
That's really interesting. Okay, so that's kind of the psychological side of it that worries me. But one thing that I like to just put into context, and even for me, a guy who never played college football, we hear a lot, get guys ready to play, or so and so is ready to play. And it seems so easy, right? Okay, so I know the guy in front of me is not playing today, so I know I have to be ready. Like, mentally, that's a different approach than when you're the third string coming in, and it's going to be stuff's going to have to hit the fan for me to hit the field, right? And players have to be aware of that. But I think the urgency of some of those guys now that they know, like, hey, it's time to go. What does that mean from a coaching standpoint and from a player responsibility standpoint to get ready for a game during the week?
It keeps you better in practice. Coaches know they got to stay sharp. See, the whole goal of coaching, you want to develop and get better, but you always want to have options. Like, I don't want to have to be married to a particular situation or a particular guy if it's not going the way that I want it to. So I want to coach as many people as I can to give myself some options. So it keeps your coaches sharp. Hey, listen, I know I don't have just one guy at running back. I got to get 3 ready, right? This, and this could happen. And in turn, those guys that are getting the reps know I'm one snap away, B-Mac. I'm one snap away from it being my show. I better be ready. So when you look at it like that, it just keeps you sharp. And I think that's, no pun intended, that's the competitor's way to look at it, and I think that's how alphas I think that's how alphas view it.
Well, and I think, just these guys are all competitive dudes naturally.
Yeah.
I mean, you put on
you hope so, right?
Yeah, you put on a jersey of any kind, you want to beat whoever it is that's lined across from you, and you want to win the game. That's why everybody does this. And I feel like that should have a little motivating factor too, right? I mean, if you're not ready to go and you put on a jersey today, what are you doing?
I couldn't. So, you know what drives me crazy? And anybody that's been around me for more than 5 seconds knows, when people say, well, they're playing with house money or they don't have anything to lose. And I'm saying to myself, listen, guys, the people that are playing, they don't actually believe that. And if they do, they're not going to get very far, because when you put on your sneakers or your girdle or your tank or whatever it is that you're wearing and you're going out to compete, if you're not trying to win, you're not doing it right. So there's this thing called respect. And it's called self-respect, if you want. I just can't. It makes my skin. Oh, they're playing with house money. No, see, just because you think that they're an underdog or they don't belong or it's 20-some point. And do you know why I feel like that? Because as a 17.5-point underdog or whatever it was when we played Florida, nobody cared. It's like nobody cared that we had lost X amount of games in a row on grass. Like, it didn't. Let's go play and see what happens, right? And I think if you're really dialed in and competing, that's how you look at it.
Well, I think that
there is no house money. There's self-respect.
And that bleeds into the fabric of a culture, which is, we've been very focused on small picture here, and I think that's important for a game like today. But your culture can define that, too.
How many times have you heard Coach Rule say, we're not victims?
Yeah.
We're not victims here.
The halftime speech they released.
Nobody cares that you haven't done X, Y, and Z. Like, you're not a victim.
Yeah, I mean, we played the clips of Coach Rule speaking to the team last week. How about the one this week where he said, go take it.
Yeah.
Go take it. They're not going to give it to you. Go take it. So, I mean, it's all intertwined, and I think it's important, especially in situations like this, these small picture things bleed into big picture things rather quickly. Mm-hmm. And if your tire's rolling down the hill the wrong way, that's a dangerous game to play.
Like a car with no brakes.
No question. My McDonald's rewards have arrived at McDonald's. Download the McDonald's app and earn points. The more you spend, the more points you get, the more you can redeem for free McDonald's food. Huskers and Boilermakers headed to a 2:30 kickoff. Traffic picking it up in and around Memorial Stadium and the city of Lincoln here in the great state of Nebraska. Hands on the wheel head in the game. The driver has one job: to drive. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. We'll welcome on our broadcast for the first time today, Trooper Dave.
Hey, thanks, Ben and Damon. Not too much traffic hitting the roads this early. I think the temps and the wind may shorten the tailgating time this weekend. I-80 eastbound from York into Lincoln has picked up a bit, but it's still free-flowing. If you can, take 77 south to Rosa Parks Way, and you'll sneak into Lincoln from the south side. Highway 77 from Beatrice up to Highway 2 is at normal speeds. Highway 34 through Max is seeing normal game day traffic. If you're out in West Omaha, still take Highway 92 or West Center Road out to Wahoo and go south on 77 back to 80. You'll skip quite a bit of traffic. Highway 6 through Gretna is just starting to get busy. Don't be afraid to take 6 down through Lincoln. I-80 westbound out of Omaha is still moving well. By the time you get down to the 409 to the 401 exits, plan on that right lane slowing down. And I-180 into downtown is still pretty clear, but that will change quickly. Make sure to grab your coats and an extra blanket. You won't be sorry you brought them. Fans, if the last thing going through your mind is putting on your seatbelt, the next thing going through your mind could be your windshield. Don't gamble with your life. Put those seatbelts on. This has been Trooper Dave with the Nebraska State Patrol Traffic Report on the Huskers Radio Network.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
This is the sound of a Husker game day. This is the sound of the opposing quarterback getting sacked on game day. This is the sound of someone enjoying a Big Mac. And this is the sound of that same someone getting another Big Mac for free.
All right!
Because the Monday after the Huskers get a sack, Big Mac is buy one, get one free at McDonald's. To review, this is what happens on game day. This is what happens on Monday. This fan is really happy.
All right!
And this is what the lawyers made us say. A la carte only. Price and participation may vary, cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
There's no community like a Cenex community. And that's why every Cenex store is so proud to serve theirs by supporting local athletic teams, promoting the arts, and making sure each store is a place its neighbors can find what they need, catch up with their friends, and stay connected. It's also why we give back, helping to make the wonderful places we call home the best they can be.
Your local Cenex doesn't just work in your town, it lives there. The store next door, powered locally at Cenex.
This is Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac. You're listening to Big Red Football.
There are a lot of rates out there, and it can be tough to find the right one. Well, let's make it easy. With FNBO's special offer CD of 5.5% APY for 3, 7, or 17 months, you can earn more, save more, and do more. That's 5.5% annual percentage yield for 3, 7, or 17 months at your nearest FNBO location with a minimum deposit of $500 and an FNBO Premier checking account. So stop on by and give your savings a great big boost with the Great Big Small Bank. FNBO, member FDIC.
At Groundworks, we take great pride in helping our Nebraska neighbors keep their homes healthy. From repairing foundations to waterproofing basements to fixing crawl spaces or lifting concrete driveways. We'd like to think our customers choose us because of our attention to detail or the fact that we're the nation's leading foundation solutions provider. What gives our customers the most comfort is we're right here in Nebraska. Visit groundworks.com for a free estimate. Groundworks. Foundation solutions crafted with pride. The official foundation company of the Huskers.
Did you know that Lincoln's water is 4 times more hard than what is recommended? This will shorten the life of your water heater, harm pipes through mineral buildup, and is bad for your hair, skin, and clothes. What's the solution? A water softener. Go online to jhlincoln.com to learn more about water softeners and our flexible financing offers, or call
John Henry's 435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, heating and air.
Want to get all the latest Husker news straight to your phone? Need to be the first of your friends to get the scoop on all things Huskers? Sign up for text alerts from Nebraska Athletics. Text Huskers to 83200 to get game time notifications and updates, breaking news, special ticket offers, and more straight to your phone. All the Husker news is just a quick text away. Just text Huskers to 83200. Standard text messaging rates may apply and may vary by carrier.
Hi, this is Husker National Champion and Super Bowl champ Tony Veland. October is National Chiropractic Health Month. Regular chiropractic care has been a game changer for me, both during my career and still today. It's the recommended first treatment for chronic lower back pain over prescription opioids. It's natural, drug-free, and safe for all ages. Discover the difference of chiropractic care. Relieve, restore, resume your life. Learn more at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Stay active with chiropractic.
Pioneer is proud to partner with Iowa and Nebraska in the Pioneer Heroes game on November 24th. This coveted trophy game is about more than winning. It's about those in our local community who inspire us in our everyday lives. From the school bus driver to the volunteer firefighter, there are those that make a difference and, simply put, make our lives better. Every community has their heroes, and Pioneer is proud to honor those who stand as an inspiration to others in the Pioneer Heroes game.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome back into Husker Game Day. I'm Jessica Coody. It's time now for our Cornhusker conversation. This week, I got a chance to sit down with defensive back Isaac Gifford.
Coming off another win for this team, how's the week been?
Good. Everybody's still focused, ready to go.
How have you seen this team approach? I mean, with the wins, the losses, whatever it might be, moving on to that 1-0 mentality every single week?
It's just, we've just kept the same process, right? Being focused on the process, because we're not there yet, and we all know that. And sticking to the process is how we're going to get to where we want to be.
The more you win, though, how much more buy-in do you see from everybody from top to bottom?
It's immediate. You know, like you understand those hard practices during the week, they translate to Saturday.
How about Coach Rule in the post game, the body surfing? How much fun was that?
Oh, it was fun. I did not expect that from him, so it was pretty funny to see.
What does that say about him, just the way he wants to celebrate any win with you guys?
Yeah, you know, it's awesome because you love a coach that's involved with the team, and he cares so much about us, so I love to see it.
So I have to ask you about your brother being on the sideline, wearing the number 2 with the Gifford on the back.
Yeah, no, he surprised me with the jersey. I didn't think he had one of those, but it was pretty cool.
We talked to you last year, and you were telling us about how close you are, and I know you're super proud of him, but now to see him come back and support you in that way, what does that mean to you?
It's cool. It's fun because I was in that boat at one point. You know, I was on the sideline getting recruited, you know, cheering him on. So it's pretty cool to see the roles reversed.
Did you ever wear his jersey?
You know, I never got one of those because I was in that weird time where they didn't make jerseys and stuff. So
wearing that number 2 and that single digit, what has that meant to you, being the initial setting the standard with that here this year, that first year, to be able to get to be one of those guys?
Yeah, you know, it keeps dawning on me that I'm the first one to wear 2 at Nebraska. So it's pretty cool to know that when I'm not here, somebody else is going to be wearing that 2. So it'll be cool to see who gets it next.
How much has that, just again, every week, just knowing what that means for this program, for Coach Roll and his staff, does that remind you every week of kind of the standard to wear that number?
No doubt. You know, I just keep remembering why I have it and what I need to do to keep that number and keep that respect of having that number.
Coach Roll has talked a lot about some of the older guys like yourself, that when they got here and the buy-in, that y'all immediately helped set the tone and the culture for this place. When did you know that what this staff was going to do was going to be good and right, and you wanted to follow it?
You know, it was actually towards the end of, I think it was Matt drills and all that. It was towards the end. We had a team meeting and we just talked about why he does what he does, because the whole spring he didn't really tell us. You know, he just wanted us to figure it out. And then we had that final meeting where he told us the steps and his meaning behind everything, and it just clicked right away for me.
What was it about that it clicked?
It was just love, right? You know, loving your team and your teammates and your coaches so much that you will hold them accountable to get the best out of them.
So when you start approaching, kind of buying into what's being done, how much has that played, just from even back to the spring, gone into what you're doing now in the fall?
You know, it directly translates because you have a lot of unforeseen things going on, right? You can't predict what's going to happen, and so having that trust and that bond with each other is how you stick together through it all.
Did you find it important for yourself personally to be, okay, I'm going to help lead the way for some of these young guys and buying into this culture?
Yeah, definitely. You know, that's one of the main things I wanted to do as an older guy and a leader on the team, is be able to set the standard for the young guys and be like, they can look at me and be like, okay, that's how I need to do it.
I asked, when I was talking to you this summer, and the coaches were all raving about what you had done, and you had told me that I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not leaving anything out there. Has that still been a process for you every single day of every single day bringing your best?
Yeah, you know, my days they're getting close to the end, so I am taking advantage of every day I have.
What's going into what you're playing, how you're playing out there right now? You're flying around. I mean, making so many plays. They continue to talk about the job that you're doing in the defense. So what's different for you this season?
You know, I've just playing free. You know, I have no worries. I have nothing to lose. I mean, I got 5 games left. Just go out there and play.
The play in the free is something that I know Tony White preaches. Going back to, the process of figuring things out and how you fit, when did you realize this defense was going to be a good fit for you?
I knew in the spring it'd be great, but, spring we were still figuring it out. So that first week of fall camp, I was like, all right, we're going to have some fun.
What is it about it that you guys have bought in so much to what you guys are doing defensively?
Oh, I just think the relentless discipline and violent, the RDV of everything is, it doesn't matter what the call is. As long as you're playing relentless, discipline, and violent, we're going to be fine.
You move around a lot. You're working with a lot of different guys. What's been your perspective on the communication and how cohesive the defensive staff is?
Yeah, the preparation we put in every week is just, it shows in the games. The back end, we know each other well enough at this point that we can do things without even looking at each other, right? Because we know that person's going to be there. Because I know Phelan's going to be on this backside, so I can pass this route off to him. So we're to the point where we trust each other.
There's a lot of guys that have played a lot of football here that are making a lot of plays, but then there's a lot of guys that just like every week that,
they're popping up.
Yeah. What is it about that and that every week you're seeing somebody new that's stepping up and making plays?
It's awesome because it just shows that this staff doesn't care like what the depth chart is. If you can play football, you're going to play. And so that's awesome for the guys that are on scout, and it pushes us guys that are starting now like, hey, they will put somebody else in if you're not playing up to the standard.
So have you seen that just because they have those opportunities that those guys are embracing that whatever their job is, no matter any single day?
Yep. Our scout defense has been great for the offense just because they know that. They've seen it. You know, they've seen Williams go up and play in a game. It's awesome.
How much fun is it for you guys? It just seems like every week you're playing with more and more confidence, and you know you're buying into what the jobs are. How much fun is it to be a part of a defense that's playing the way you guys are playing?
It's pretty awesome because it's freeing. Like I said before, you could play free because you trust each other so much.
I on the sideline I noticed too, like even last week when the offense was having some struggles, you guys were locked in. If you were just listening to the huddles, you wouldn't know what was going on outside of what the defense is doing.
Yep.
How important is that mentality for you guys? Hey, we just got to do what we do.
Yeah, you know, we just got to have our offenses back. You know, at the end of the day, it's a team game, and you just got to focus on what's next.
The defensive line, I want to give you a chance to brag on them. And again, you talk about a rotation. What does that do for an entire defense when you have a defensive line that's playing like that?
It makes our life, especially on the back end, so much easier. When you know they're getting to the quarterback, right? You know you got to cover this route for 3 to 5 seconds because they're going to be there in 3 to 5 seconds. Or in the run game, you know they're junking it up there. There's so much chaos up there that they're stopping the ball before it even gets to the second level. So it's pretty fun to play with a good D-line.
You talked a lot about the chaos and all of that. When you're game planning and scheming with Tony White, how is that? What is that like, trying to figure out what everything you're going to do any given Saturday?
You know, it's well thought out, but at the end of the day, it comes down to just playing violently, right? Like they might have us on a call, but if we just play the way we're supposed to play, then it's going to work out.
Yeah, and I was going to ask about some of the big plays that you guys were able to, maybe in the past, or even some other defenses might have gone for bigger plays or touchdowns.
Yeah.
What is that mentality for this defense that, hey, if there's going to be a big play, we're going to chase them down, whatever we got to do?
Yeah, you know, I mean, you've seen Omar and Malcolm do it. It's just never giving up on the ball. It's running the ball constantly. It doesn't matter if they get 70 yards because they're not going to get in that end zone.
Why is that? I mean, how has that been implemented? I mean, how has that changed and really bought into for this defense?
You know, it comes down to the what's next mindset in my point of view. And also it's just we know we can stop them, right? So, like, even with Illinois in the goal line, everybody's composed. We're like, okay, that's fine. Win this next rep, right? That's just going through everybody's head. Win this rep. Win this rep.
What also goes into how, when you're throwing a lot of different guys out there, you're running a lot of different bodies, you're doing all these different things, how does it seem so seamless, though? I mean, it's chaos, but it's like orchestrated chaos, and it seems like you guys are all on the same page. What goes into that?
That's how it is at practice. I mean, it's chaos at practice. Tuesday, Wednesdays are chaos, and it just prepares you for the game. I mean, practice, we're getting the calls in 1 second before they snap the ball, right? So you play at that speed in practice, you can slow it down during the game.
Was there ever a point where you're like, I don't know if this is going to work?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Definitely at the beginning of the year, I'm like, Minnesota does not run a tempo offense. Why are we going so fast? And then you get to the game, you're like, all right, I get what he's doing here.
That's awesome. Let's talk about Purdue. What are you seeing on film from them that this defense needs to continue to perform well?
Yeah, you know, Purdue's got a really good skill team. You know, they're quick. They got some good players. Their quarterback's really good. He's a smart player. So I think it's going to come down to the back end and how we play routes, and the D-line's got to get to the quarterback.
What is it about the defense that, I mean, you guys are so good against the run, but that it matches up so well with so many different offenses? Like, Purdue's going to be a different look than what you saw out of Northwestern and vice versa and on and on. So why is the defense able to I guess, be versatile against different offenses?
Yeah, you know, I mean, playing that 3-3-5, it's made for passing teams, right? We're dropping 8 a lot of the time. You can play man, you can play the run. It's very versatile. You know, you can change up the calls with the same personnel group. So you can fit any kind of offensive scheme with the 3-3-5 setup.
What are some of the biggest things you've learned playing for Evan Cooper?
Oh, man, he cares so much about everybody in that room. You know, he will do whatever it takes to grow us as players and men. He talks about it constantly. The dude doesn't sleep. I don't know how he functions. I really don't. But he's just constantly working, trying to get us better.
It seems like there's such a good balance, and this is what all the defensive coaches about. You have fun, you're loose, but then also he'll get after you and challenge you too. How much is that? What is that like to play for a coach like that?
Yeah, no, it's big because you know, you want to have fun in practice and in games and whatever, but when it comes down to it, this is a violent game, and you got to take that seriously. And the coaches do a good job of showing and coaching that.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about how the defense, kind of like a badge of honor, like, hey, we're going to be built around this defense. As a defensive player, how much do you love this program that Coach Roll wants to build around playing great defense?
Yeah, you know, I like it because I want that on my back. I want that on my shoulders because I know our defense can handle it.
All right, what are the big keys for the defense on Saturday?
Play our keys and tackle. That'll be it.
Looking like some bad weather. I mean, but you're pretty used to it, right?
I love it.
You like playing in this kind of weather?
I'd rather play in 30 degrees than 90 degrees, so.
What about the rain and precipitation?
I want it to rain. I want it to rain. I want it to snow. I want the wind. I want it all.
I love it. All right, well, appreciate your time. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks so much to Isaac Gifford for sitting down with us this week. The Cornhusker Conversation is brought to you by Teammates Mentoring Program. Be there for a student in your local school by going to teammates.org.
Hello, Husker Nation. This is Tom Osborne. Congratulations on passing through these Memorial Stadium gates for 100 years of Husker football. Thank you also for supporting Teammates for the past 32 years.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska exists to be there with you. They are rooting for the schools and teachers who make our communities great. That's why Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska is proud to sponsor Touchdowns for Teachers and ask Husker fans to nominate outstanding educators who help Nebraska students reach their potential. If there's a teacher you want to recognize for the impact they've made in your community, find a nomination form at huskers.com/touchdownsforteachers.
It's being well supported by a provider who understands your health interests and goals. It's ensuring you are well connected to a team of caregivers and specialists. It's feeling well cared for by having someone you can turn to who sees you for you. That's the power of being well matched. And that's exactly what CHI Health Clinic's My Provider Match does. Meet the provider who is right for you at myprovidermatch.com.
This is Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac. You're listening to Big Red Football.
Maybe your hometown celebrates long-standing Swiss traditions. Cow chip throwing. Or even classic car muscle. Everyone has a hometown, and every hometown has a festival. Cenex wants to hear about yours. That's why we're launching the Hometown Throwdown. Tell us about your fest, and it could win $100,000. Learn more at CenexHometownThrowdown.com. Cenex, powered locally.
Caring for the land is one of the most important, fulfilling things a person can do. If you're looking to add more land to your ag operation or refinance existing debt, Dakota Mac can help. For 30 years now, they've been providing long-term, fixed-rate loans for ag real estate. To make things easy, Dakota Mac has an experienced specialist in your area.
Hi, it's Nick Luxinger from Dakota Mac. Call me at 402-740-6445 to learn all about our competitive rates on ag real estate loans.
Is your garbage disposal not disposing? You had one job. Drains backing up can cause a horrible smell in a home, damaged pipes, and so much more. Some signs that your garbage disposal may be going out include frequent clogs, abnormal and louder noises than normal, or water is leaking from the bottom, just to name a few. John Henry's is here to take care of all the pipes and drains in your home. Call today.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing. Heating and air.
This is the sound of a Husker game day. This is the sound of the opposing quarterback getting sacked on game day. This is the sound of someone enjoying a Big Mac. And this is the sound of that same someone getting another Big Mac for free.
All right!
Because the Monday after the Huskers get a sack, Big Mac is buy one, get one free at McDonald's. To review, this is what happens on game day. This is what happens on Monday. This fan is really happy.
All right!
And this is what the lawyers made us say. A la carte only. Price and participation may vary, cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
It's time for some Nebraska farm facts. Want to know a fast way to rev up our Nebraska economy while helping the planet? It's right in your tank. When you fill up with clean soy-based biodiesel, you're increasing Nebraska biodiesel production while reducing greenhouse gases by up to 74%. So look for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, our economy, and our farmers. This message is brought to you by Nebraska soybean farmers, growing opportunity from the ground up.
Some days you hit snooze, but not today. Today you have to go on a run to get burgers for the tailgate. You've got to haul something heavy, a cooler stocked with Bud Light. When you've got beer and football, nothing is hard. Until the other team scores. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus. Copyright 2023 Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Husker fans, did you know Nebraska consistently ranks as one of the top states for electric grid reliability? Public power is something we can all cheer for. Welcome back to the Dakota Mac Husker Game Day Show here on the Huskers Radio Network. Ben McLaughlin joined by Damon Betting. College football Saturday is underway. Indiana hits Penn State, 10th-ranked Penn State for a 90-yard touchdown pass. Hoosiers just muffed a punt, though, so Penn State's going to get good field position there. And Northwestern has just pulled within one PAT pending against Maryland at home at Ryan Field. So a couple of games around the conference in action, and we will keep our eyes and ears on all Big Ten play throughout the day today. Damon and I have talked a lot about kind of this current situation with Nebraska's injuries after last week, rightfully so. Kind of just been a disaster, really from the IGC injury against Minnesota to now. It's just been impossible momentum to stop in the wrong direction. So with that, it's highlighted some players and thrusted some players into action, as we talked about in our last segment live with you before our Cornhusker conversation with Isaac Gifford with the O-line. And I think that bleeds directly into where we want to take this conversation next, which is the scout team. And there's really two areas that I want to hit on here. Being the spotter and stats guy up in the booth, I'm always paying attention to who's out on the field and picking out numbers. And one thing I learned very quickly, I think it was the first defensive drive against Minnesota in Minneapolis, where I'm pointing to the chart every time someone new is on the field.
Yeah.
I'm used to maybe 13 or 14 guys on a drive. I think there was 20 on that first one with Minnesota, and I'm like, okay, this is just how it's going to be this year.
You could tell when they were up to like 17 after like 3 series.
Yeah, I mean, whole line changes after 3 snaps was just incredible. But I will say every now and then there is a new name that pops up there, and one last week was this number 90. I'm like, who is this guy? So I'm looking around, and boom, James Williams staring us right in the face, and it wasn't just a one-time thing. And so everybody was curious who this guy was, where he came from, and what type of impact he was going to have. And Coach Rule was point-blank period, said, yeah, he's a guy that has a really nice pass rush. He's given us all kinds of problems on the scout team. We gave him a chance, and we're speaking to opportunities a little earlier in the show, and he made the most of them. But complete side note, that's also hilarious. Him saying, I've never talked to the media before, so this could go badly. After the game.
Yeah,
after the
it
game.
was great.
Just you couldn't be more honest with the reporters. But this is a story that we have seen so many times at Nebraska with walk-on scout team players. Usually there's more of a process to this.
They'll say, hey, watch this guy in practice.
Yeah.
The first time you hear about it isn't in a game.
I did not think this name was going to come out of my mouth today. But
even Taylor Martinez, right?
Jack Gangwish?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And Taylor Martinez was a scholarship guy, but remember hearing about him in practice,
Totally.
just killing the guys?
Yeah. And in Jack's case, having to go put on 65 pounds. The coach is saying, all right, you got to go put on 65 pounds to play DN. Turns into a contributor, to a starter, to a black shirt, to a captain. And, here we have, maybe his name pops out at me because they're playing the same position. But, James Williams. But this seemingly came out of nowhere. Oh. But you mentioned the consistency and the mentality and the competitiveness, all those things that make up scout team players. I feel like that's maybe tenfold with those guys, knowing, it's a shot in the moon to even get a chance to go out on the field for a meaningful snap. And this guy I mean, he's going to turn into somebody we watch for.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Sometimes guys, we found a couple like guys like this at the high school level. You think you're watching something else, and then after about 6 or 7 plays, something just keeps flashing, or somebody just keeps popping, and you're like, "What are we missing something here?" And then you want to see it against different competition. So you're like, "Hey, come on down on this end," and then he continues to do it, and you're like, yeah, okay. Let's give this a look-see here. Because remember, and Coach Rule kind of slid this in. It wasn't like he went from the scout team, and once they moved him off the scout team, he stayed. He was still fluctuating back and forth. And I think sometimes when Coach White says things like, hey, you know what, I want to say, hey, appreciate you shout-out offense for continually making it hard on us in practice. Do you think he's just throwing us a bone? No, I think there's something to the way that this team practices that allows guys to flourish and find jobs on Saturdays because they don't just go through the motions. You get the sense it's very competitive, it's very spirited, and they reward production. That's pretty cool. You want a way to keep practices sharp? Reward what happens in practice.
You and I have talked ad nauseum, and we're not the only ones. I mean, we are special, but maybe not in this way, about how many guys are getting opportunities, and that just built off of what we were talking about with Minnesota, all those players that they felt comfortable with to put in the game. How much does that help a James Williams to keep him motivated going, hey, I saw Cam Lenhart do it. I saw Kai Wallen do it. I saw basically everybody else. I'm going to keep doing it too. And I'm going to get my chance.
These guys are going to figure out a way to get Jamari Butler back on the field again, even though this guy was playing well and this guy, he can move. Oh, I can play 10 snaps this week at this position, so I can play 40 next week at another position when that guy gets back healthy. Wait, this is how this works? When you start to see things like that happen, it's easy to keep practices spirited and sharp Monday through Friday.
Well, and especially when you get a nibble of the cookie, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that tasted great. What do I got to do to eat the whole thing? Because I got 6 other guys that want to chew on the cookie too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that I would love to be a fly on the wall in the meeting rooms and just the film watching, the preparation, all those things that go into just practicing great to lead you to successful Saturdays. And my goodness, Damon, I mean, you were talking about thumbing through the Rolodex of previous Husker football seasons. I don't remember of one where we've had this many contributors on the defensive front 7.
Yeah.
Like, if you would have told me before that Jamari's playing well, Nash and Ty are probably playing their best football as Huskers.
And remember, you got a guy like Brody Tagovailoa before the car accident. Remember we watched him in spring, and they said, he's the guy that's going to play.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, you're trying to find more ways for Van Poppel to contribute? Where does he fit in? And, oh, by the way, there's this one guy, A.J. Rollins, that when he's healthy, he's pretty good too. Like, you're just playing body after body after body.
And we have seen all those guys.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely crazy. So let's hope it happens more frequently. But I think, all of us would have signed on the dotted line to this point to have as many contributors, because one of two things happens when these guys get on the field. It's either a situation like we've just laid out for the last 5 minutes, or it's a situation what's happening on the other side of the ball in the offensive line. We're like, okay, we don't really have a choice. You're in.
Yeah, and the cool, like I said, I think as a coach you always want options, and so the more options you have, typically the better off you're going to be. It not only breeds competition, but it keeps guys sharp. But you know what? If you don't like the way something's going, you don't feel compelled to have to reward poor production.
One thing that was kind of cool that got some attention this week off of this conversation was maybe a bigger picture thing. And Coach Rule gets his hands on the scout team defense. Found that really interesting because we've talked time allocation on this show the last few weeks about just the finite number of minutes there are in a day, and to pour into certain resources, especially as the head coach. But for him to want to get his hands in the meat of the scout team defense, what's that tell you?
That's pretty cool. And he's invested in everybody top to bottom. He knows that the best way to turn this program around to even remotely have a chance to bring Nebraska back to conference prominence and national prominence is you have to bring the bottom closer to the middle and the middle closer to the top. You can't be top heavy waiting around on Superman, right? This elite level talent to come in. So in the meantime, what am I doing to give myself a chance to win? And I think for him, it's adding to the competitiveness. It's raising the floor, which ultimately is going to be a big deal when you carry as many numbers as Nebraska does.
It's a really good point. I think a lot of times this gets overlooked. Look, we talk about the scout team every year, but by the way, it happens on senior day when a lot of these guys are hanging it up. And we show our appreciation to them, especially the seniors that have been on there for 4 or 5 years that you may not have heard of. But the fact that we're talking scout team right now and the calendar hasn't hit November yet, I think it's a really good sign.
Yeah, to think I just go back and not to rehash any old days, but you get a Dishman or an Ogard or, a Hoskinson or, I played scout team. Like there were just, Clinton Childs, like those are quality competition squads that you're out there going. I remember Mike Menner. Like there's some guys out there that are playing good competitive, just chomping at the. And the more of those you have, because I firmly believe this, it's a grown man conference, it's a big kids conference, and the more that your protein can be redshirt sophomores and juniors, and not redshirt freshmen and freshmen, the better off you're going to be. So the young guys are made to supplement, not supplant, right? That can't be the crux of what you do. You want the grown-ups playing, the 22, 23-year-olds. And I think for Nebraska, letting the young guys kind of grow and evolve in the process and raise that floor is how you get there at this juncture of where Nebraska is.
Yeah, it's been really cool to watch. There's no question about that, and hopefully we're watching number 90 again for the Black Shirts today get after a Purdue team that I think is a really interesting one to look at top to bottom, and we're going to do that here in just a little bit. But, really intrigued by some of the things that came out of the press conference today with or this week, I should say, with Matt Rule, and that definitely being one of them. The 1890 initiative helping Husker athletes navigate name, image, and likeness. To learn more or donate, visit 1890nebraska.com. We also need to thank our friends at Cornerstone Bank. They are committed to providing you game-changing solutions for your financial needs. Bank on a solid foundation. Cornerstone Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Off and rolling here on the Dakota Mac Husker Game Day Show. About 45 minutes left in our program before we hand things over to Countdown to Kickoff. And the voice of the Huskers, Greg Sharpe, headed to a 2:30 kick, less than 3 hours away now from kickoff between Nebraska and Purdue. Cornhuskers trying to inch closer to bowl eligibility, and will try and do so, and doing something they haven't done very often lately. Losers of 4 of the last 5 to the Boilermakers, and they'll try and get after them today here at home. We'll step aside for a break. We'll look at today's opponent, the Boilermakers of Purdue, coming up after the timeout.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Caring for the land is one of the most important, fulfilling things a person can do. If you're looking to add more land to your ag operation or refinance existing debt, Dakota Mac can help. For 30 years now, they've been providing long-term, fixed-rate loans for ag real estate. To make things easy, Dakota Mac has an experienced specialist in your area.
Hi, it's Nick Luxinger from Dakota Mac. Call me at 402-740-6445 to learn all about our competitive rates on ag real estate loans.
There's no community like a Cenex community. And that's why every Cenex store is so proud to serve theirs by supporting local athletic teams, promoting the arts, and making sure each store is a place its neighbors can find what they need, catch up with their friends, and stay connected. It's also why we give back, helping to make the wonderful places we call home the best they can be. Your local Cenex doesn't just work in your town, it lives there. The store next door, powered locally at Cenex.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska exists to be there with you. They are rooting for the schools and teachers who make our communities great. That's why Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska is proud to sponsor Touchdowns for Teachers and ask Husker fans to nominate outstanding educators who help Nebraska students reach their potential. If there's a teacher you want to recognize for the impact they've made in your community, find a nomination form at huskers.com/touchdownsforteachers.
This is the sound of a Husker game day. This is the sound of the opposing quarterback getting sacked on game day. This is the sound of someone enjoying a Big Mac. And this is the sound of that same someone getting another Big Mac for free.
All right!
Because the Monday after the Huskers get a sack, Big Mac is buy one, get one free at McDonald's. To review, this is what happens on game day. This is what happens on Monday. This fan is really happy.
All right!
And this is what the lawyers made us say. A la carte only. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
This is Big Red Football.
Dear roads, trails, and rivers, you ready for some SUV action? Toyota SUVs can roll their sleeves up for tight turns and twisty trails. Dress up for a night out on the town, or head to the great outdoors. Take your family adventure game to a whole new level with the roomy Highlander. Make a serious splash with the rugged, revved-up RAV4. And tow all your toys in the spacious new Sequoia. Don't forget the trail-taming 4Runner and the sleek Venza Hybrid. All Toyota SUVs feature a whole suite of creature comforts to keep you and yours cozy in the cabin. Check out this legendary lineup at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers. Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Baxter Toyota of Lincoln.
A bag of corn is, well, a bag of corn. Unless it's a bag of Pioneer brand Chrome seed corn. Then you're dealing with the most optimized yield potential, agronomic performance, and insect protection the Pioneer lineup has to offer. A bag that will make life easier for you. 8 bushels per acre easier, and much harder for rootworms than the competition. Pioneer brand Chrome products, field proven and ready for yours. Visit pioneer.com/plantchrome.
When you're clocking out and happy hour's already started. But you're clocking out and happy hour's already started. The choice to enjoy is easy. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Pick up Bud Light at your local convenience store today. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
At Nebraska, our people will always be our greatest asset. Day-by-day donors give our teams the best opportunity to compete and win through their generous donations. Our vision for the future is ambitious and requires help from those who want to see Husker athletics excel at the highest level. Go big and join thousands of other Huskers Athletic Fund members with your gift today at huskers.com/donate.
It's being well supported by a provider who understands your health interests and goals. It's ensuring you are well connected to a team of caregivers and specialists. It's feeling well cared for by having someone you can turn to who sees you for you. That's the power of being well matched. And that's exactly what CHI Health Clinic's My Provider Match does. Meet the provider who is right for you at myprovidermatch.com.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Purdue comes into this afternoon's game with only one conference win against Illinois in September and a 2-5 record overall. They haven't won a game since that September 30th matchup with the Illini, but the Huskers can't afford to sleep on this team if they are really looking to push closer toward bowl eligibility. The Purdue quarterback this season is Hudson Card. The Texas transfer has had an up-and-down year in his first season with the Boilermakers. The redshirt junior signal caller completes over 60% of his passes, but currently has a 7-5 touchdown-to-interception ratio. Card has thrown 4 of his 7 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks. His best game of the season, unsurprisingly, came in the win against Illinois, where he went 18 for 26 passing with 2 touchdowns.
Just the second penalty today, charged to Purdue. Card, end zone, open, touchdown, Garrett Miller and Purdue. A 28-yard strike and a touchdown for Purdue on their first chance in the second half.
Card didn't get too many opportunities with the Longhorns and was actually on the same roster as former Huskers quarterback Casey Thompson a few years ago. He has started to turn his season around in the past few weeks, and we'll see if his best game is yet to come this afternoon against the Blackshirts.
Card trying to step up in the pocket. Now he escapes, eyes downfield, has a target. It's Sheffield down the sideline. He goes and in for the touchdown. How about Hudson Card? 43-yard catch and run.
The Purdue running game is led by Devin Maccabee. The 6-foot running back made 7 starts last season, highlighted by a season-best performance against the Huskers, where he went for 178 yards on the ground and a touchdown. He has returned this season and put up solid numbers. His best game was Purdue's most recent outing against Ohio State, where Maccabee went for over 100 yards for the first time this season. However, his last touchdown was this one against Iowa.
Card hands it up. Maccabee into the end zone. He will go. So Purdue making a game of it.
Maccabee will go crazy against this Nebraska defense if the Huskers aren't careful. It will be a challenge to maintain the elite standing that Nebraska has in rushing defense today.
The football, but he does have that ability.
Maccabee, touchdown! Devin Maccabee and the Boilermakers into the end zone again.
The top pass catcher this season for the Boilermakers has been Deion Burks. The redshirt sophomore has broken out this season after going for only 149 yards all of last year. The former 3-star recruit leads Purdue in receiving yards with 418 and receiving touchdowns, including one of his 5 touchdowns in Purdue's last game against Ohio State.
So here's Card to the blitz coming. Card throws, and they finally get in the end zone. Deion Burks with Purdue's first points of the day.
Someone else the Huskers will need to look out for is Abdur-Rahman Yassin. The 6'2 receiver has no touchdowns this season, but has caught 25 balls for over 300 yards in only 6 games played. Outside of Burks and Yassin, Purdue has 3 other players with over 100 yards receiving, those being TJ Sheffield, Max Clare, and Garrett Miller. This group of playmakers has helped get the Boilermakers up to 5th in the Big Ten in passing yards this season. So the Blackshirts secondary is going to need to be ready at all spots on the field today. Head coach Ryan Walters talked to the media this week and had some very interesting points about his personal history with Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean, 90,000 plus that are Sea Red, right? My history with Nebraska started at a very young age. I obviously grew up a fan of Colorado, my dad playing there, and that was like the hated rivalry, right? And so you remove yourself from that as a coach, and the first time I got to play against Nebraska again was in 2021, my first season in Illinois, and I just remember them running out of the tunnel at, in Champaign, and the feelings come back, right? It's like, man, I really can't stand that color, don't like that end on the helmet, and so definitely this has been a big week, and we've explain to the guys just how crazy it gets out there. They are diehard fans, win, lose, or draw. And so we're looking forward to a great venue to play a competitive and tough football game.
Today's matchup between the Huskers and the Boilermakers is only the 12th all-time meeting between the two schools. Purdue has the advantage with a 6-5 record against Nebraska, and Nebraska lost the most recent matchup last year in an exciting back-and-forth affair that ended with Purdue taking the victory 43-37. The series has been even at 5 wins apiece since Nebraska joined the Big Ten in 2011. However, Purdue has been dominant recently, winning 4 of the past 5 matchups since 2018. We'll see if Coach Rule can pick up another win to generate the first 3-game winning streak for Husker football since the beginning of the 2016 football season, where Big Red beat Fresno State, Wyoming, and Oregon back-to-back-to-back. No doubt this would be a massive win for the program as the Huskers continue to push toward bowl eligibility in Coach Rule's first season at the helm. Reporting for the Huskers Radio Network, I'm Jake Schross. Appreciate it, Jake. Thank you so much for the look at today's opponent, the Purdue Boilermakers, and Ryan Walters, first-year head coach in West Lafayette, coming over as the former DC for Illinois. And defensive mind, really intriguing to watch on tape. They do a lot of different things, as we know from Illinois' defenses in the past. Let's just start with their defense and what they like to do. Starts in the back end, and they've got a freshman back there that's pretty dang good. He's racked up multiple weekly honors by the conference already. What sticks out to you when you watch Ryan Walters in year one on his side of the ball?
They've been feast or famine on the back end. Been really, really porous, I think, in terms of giving up passing yards. So they got to shore that up. They're young, so he's used those guys in kind of some pressure package situations, trying to wreak havoc. But I just don't know, if Nebraska's built today to be able to take advantage of that. Where they've been pretty productive is up front with some of their pressure packages. They've been kind of middle of the pack against the run, but they can turn you over. And so I think individually, their defense reminds me a lot of their offense. Individually, they have good players, but collectively, they haven't quite been able to put it all together. They've been leaky on the back end defensively, and they've given it away on offense. So you haven't had a chance to see them function, but they're very, very capable. And when you give a good, young, bright mind like Walters a week to prepare, I think that's where you get a lot of the trepidation for this week.
Yeah, the one thing that stands out to me when I watch them is they don't play great complementary football. I mean, it seems like they've yet to kind of put it all together. The second half against Illinois, I think they played pretty well. They've done some different things offensively, I think, to try and make it work with some of the usual suspects. Bringing Tyrone Tracy from receiver to running back, I think, gives them a little more flexibility.
Maccabee's a handful.
Maccabee's still Maccabee, which also he's a tremendous story for them.
It's Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch. He just his style. And remember, we saw his coming out party against Nebraska last year.
Yep.
And wait till I don't know when the last time you watched him. He's changed his build quite a bit from a year ago. He's a highly productive back, and I just hope Northwestern was able to find a few things last week in a couple of back-to-back series with some weak side run game, and they'd run to the boundary and a little tackle over, and some of that stuff kind of hurt Nebraska. And they showed a little bit of vulnerability to the cutback. Purdue's really good at that, and in particular Maccabee. Nebraska's going to have to tighten that up.
Maccabee's vision, I think, is the best part.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Because there's nothing really else that he's not breakaway speed. He's not. He will lower his pads.
He is hard on the first defender, right?
Yes.
The first guy typically doesn't get him.
And it's this can be a weird comparison because body builds, they're not the same. But the way Amir kind of ran, the first guy they had a hard time getting hands on Amir. I think Maccabee is a little bit that way. He just looks completely different.
Yeah, he's a very unorthodox runner.
And I think, and then Tyrone Tracy, he's more the, his playmaking ability is, they had to find a way to get
quicker than he is fast.
Yes.
But a nice complementary piece to Maccabee.
They had to find a way to get the ball in his hands more. And obviously, outside they've got, plenty of firepower with Dion Burks, who has proved to be a pretty elusive playmaker. And we haven't talked
playing
about
to Nebraska's strengths, though, with Burks. Hopefully they can find a way to negate him.
Exactly. And I think that leads me to believe, Tony White's going to have some things dialed up today defensively against this unit that I think it's going to confuse and frustrate Hudson Card, which, by the way, we haven't talked about him yet. Texas transfer from Austin. He finds his way to West Lafayette.
Do you remember the last time Hudson Card came up between you and I?
I don't.
We were talking about transfers in the Big Ten West that probably had the best landing spot.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like Mordecai. Some people like McCarthy. Card was the most intriguing. That offense just hasn't found a way to take good care of the football. Did I say McCarthy? I meant to say McNamara. Hasn't had for whatever reason, they've turned the ball over.
And when you watch him on film, it looks he's just so poised.
Yeah.
Like he just looks like a quarterback.
Like a guy that's played some big time football.
Yeah, and it just nothing seems to faze him. And I don't know that he's played necessarily at an elite level. But I think that, his consistency and the way that his mental makeup, I think, is really important. And, to keep an eye on that throughout today, too. So Purdue's offense against Nebraska's defense, I think, is the matchup that that everybody has their eyes and ears on. One of 3 fatal crashes in Nebraska involves an alcohol-impaired driver. If you drink, don't drive. Impaired driving is deceptively dangerous from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Let's get another update with what's happening on the roads with Trooper Dave.
Hey, thanks again, Ben and Damon. It looks like traffic has started picking up. Westbound 80 out of Omaha has the normal slowdown at the 432 ramp by the mall. Move to the left to let those cars on. From there, you will see moderate traffic down to past Waverly, and again, that right lane will slow near the 27th and I-180 exits. Southbound 6 out of Gretna has really picked up. Stay on 6, and the first light you'll hit will be in Waverly. Highway 34 out of Seward is also getting busy, but moving well all the way up to the airport. That right lane after Fletcher will be closed, so get to the left before you get to the I-80 overpass. I-80 eastbound from Milford into West Lincoln is side by side, but still moving at a pretty good pace. And I-180 southbound into downtown is still looking pretty good. The tail end of that is past Salt Creek. Fans, if you're not wearing anything to the game today, at least wear your seatbelt. Increase your chance of survival and reduce the risk of injury by putting your seatbelt on. Don't become a statistic. This has been Trooper Dave with the Nebraska State Patrol Traffic Report on the Huskers Radio Network.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
It's being well supported by a provider who understands your health interests and goals. It's ensuring you are well connected to a team of caregivers and specialists. It's feeling well cared for by having someone you can turn to who sees you for you. That's the power of being well matched. And that's exactly what CHI Health Clinic's My Provider Match does. Meet the provider who is right for you at myprovidermatch.com.
Ah, Sunday. You take a morning walk to pick up burgers and beers. You tidy the house for 10 fellow football fans. And your biggest chore? Loading the Bud Light into the fridge. It all pays off because nothing is as easy to enjoy as a Sunday full of football. And beer. Bud Light. Easy to Sunday, easy to enjoy. Bud Light is the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus. Copyright 2023 Anheuser-Busch. Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
This is Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac. You're listening to Big Red Football.
Tired of worrying about what to make for dinner? Try Gary's Quick Steak. It's delicious, convenient, and easy to make in minutes as it cooks from frozen. It also has over 20 grams of protein per serving, is gluten-free, and is made with real beef and chicken. Enjoy sandwiches, enchiladas, stir-fry, quality sirloin, chicken, and corned beef ready in minutes. Simply sizzle, flip, and savor.
I promise you, if you try it, you're absolutely going to love it.
Visit our website to find a store near you.
Allergy season is officially here. Your home should be a place where you can escape dust, pollen, and other allergens, but every time you enter your home, you bring them inside. John Henry's offers numerous products to remove allergens and germs from your home. Call John Henry's today to learn more about our indoor air quality products to breathe easier in your home.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing. Heating and air.
Maybe your hometown celebrates long-standing Swiss traditions. Cow chip throwing. Or even classic car muscle. Everyone has a hometown, and every hometown has a festival. Cenex wants to hear about yours. That's why we're launching the Hometown Throwdown. Tell us about your fest, and it could win $100,000. Learn more at CenexHometownThrowdown.com. Cenex, powered locally.
Experience a redefined car buying experience with Woodhouse Mazda. Visit the Metro's exclusive Mazda dealers and explore our exceptional lineup. Take advantage of our current offers happening now, like 2.9% APR for 60 months on all 2024 Mazda CX-5 Turbo models. Start your journey with us online at WoodhouseMazda.com or WoodhousePlaceMazda.com. With approved credit, tax, title, license extra. When financed with Mazda Financial Services. $299 doc fee due at signing. Offer expires October 31st, 2023. See dealer for details.
It's more powerful than the legendary Husker option offense. More powerful than the black shirt defense. It's the sun, and you can harness its power with JTech Solar. JTech, the official solar energy experts of the Huskers, can help you shrink your energy bills and start saving money now. Solar power is clean, affordable, and it's dependable because the sun always shines on the Huskers. JTech Solar for your home, business, or agriculture energy needs. Visit jtechsolar.com.
That's what it sounds like when a farmer opens a bag of Pioneer brand A-Series soybeans. But not just any farmer. The type who expects nothing less than the absolute best. Who sees our 3 bushel per acre edge over XtendFlex and gets excited about how big of a yield advantage they'll have at harvest. Pioneer brand A-Series soybeans. #1 for a reason. Visit pioneer.com/advantage.
Let's pause 15 seconds for station identification on the Huskers Radio Network.
The Huskers blast the Buffs early and often and rise to #1. Hi, I'm Nate Rohr, and this is Good Times, presented by the 1890 Initiative. The 1995 Huskers started their defense of the national championship ranked 2nd in the country. Despite hammering its first 7 opponents by an average of 31 points per game, Nebraska hadn't risen to the top spot in the polls. But as the #2 Huskers took the field on October 28, 1995, against 7th-ranked Colorado at Folsom Field in Boulder, they knew they'd have a chance to take an inside track in the national championship race. The Buffaloes took the opening kickoff and gained 1 first down. The drive sputtered and the Buffs' punt was downed at the Nebraska 43. The Huskers' offense wasted no time taking control.
First down for Nebraska. The ball is at the 43 after the short punt. And here goes Frazier down the line, delivers the ball to Green. Green's on the corner, going down the sideline. He's on his way. He's got a touchdown. 57 yards.
Colorado tied the game midway through the quarter, and the game stayed tied until Terrell Farley's interception gave Nebraska the ball at the Buffs' 13. Green punched it in from 1 yard out to give the Huskers a 14-7 lead with just under 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. Colorado went 3 and out on the ensuing possession, and Nebraska started the drive on its own 48. Frazier took to the skies to cash in the good field position.
All right, it's Henning and McAvica lined up this time behind Frazier in that power-eye set. And Frazier still got it, looks down the middle of the field, he goes to the side, and the pass is completed to number 33, Lester Johnson, and Johnson canters on in for a touchdown.
2 touchdowns in just over a minute gave the Huskers a 21-7 lead with 1:47 to go in the first quarter. The Buffaloes cut the Husker lead to 7 with 9:34 remaining until halftime, but Nebraska regained momentum with a 25-yard field goal by Chris Brown with 5:15 to go in the second quarter, pushing the Nebraska lead to 24-14. A punt gave NU the ball at its own 17 with just under 3 minutes to go until halftime. In 9 plays, the Huskers marched to the Buffs' 7. With the second quarter clock winding down, Frazier was looking to slam a nail in Colorado's coffin.
They're throwing touchdown, Central. Tom Osborne, boy, he saves these plays. He knows when to pull them out.
The extra point pushed the lead to 31-14 Huskers. The Buffaloes scored a touchdown midway through the third quarter to cut the lead to 10, but Nebraska scored the last 13 points of the game and cruised to a 44-21 win over Colorado. Frazier was efficient through the air, 14 for 23, with 241 yards and 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Nebraska took it away from Colorado twice while never giving it away, and while the Buffs ran up 12 penalties for 92 yards, the Huskers were not penalized. The win boosted Nebraska to #1 in the polls and was the second of 4 wins over top 10 opponents in 1995 en route to a second straight national championship. Good Times is brought to you by the 1890 Initiative. Do you want to support Husker student-athletes through name, image, and likeness? If so, visit 1890nebraska.com. I'm Nate Rohr, and this has been Good Times, presented by the 1890 Initiative.
Welcome back into Husker Game Day. I'm Jessica Coody, and joined now on the show by a special guest, Kevin Wales, the CEO of Lincoln Electric System and chair of the Nebraska Power Association. Thanks so much for joining us today, Kevin.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, October is Public Power Month. What is public power and why is it important?
Well, obviously this is a big deal for Nebraska because public power is the only all public power state. And it really is all about serving the local community. And, the benefits are kind of far-reaching when you look at it. They basically amount to locally owned, locally governed. There's over 160 different public power entities in the state, low rates, high reliability. The utilities are planned and operated really consistent with what the community values are. So they're reflective really of what our customers want and need. Active community engagement, because it is basically local people serving local people. That is just a key part of what we do. And then there's the element of the financial support for local government functions as well.
Wow, so the only state that's 100% public power. What does that mean for the state and the people of the state?
Well, it's really, and what kind of the hallmark of this is we talk about local people serving local people. So that the people that work at the utility are serving their friends, neighbors, families. And on a bigger scale, when you look at the utilities in the state, we have consensus on issues when we're facing things that are in the industry because we're all really kind of have a like approach and like business models. And all of those are focused on the customer.
So when talking about public power, we hear about local control. What exactly does that mean?
Well, that's a good point. Local control means that there is a local governing body, and it could be a board or it could be a city council that is responsible for the operations of the utility. And when you look at that, that's distinctly different than, for example, investor-owned utilities, which are owned in many cases by some company that may serve several states. You probably would not have the opportunity to be able to run into those folks when you go to the post office or whatever. But, when you have the governing bodies for the utilities are at, in effect, where you live, you have the ability to reach out and talk to them, to give them your opinion, and or if they have complaints, you have the ability to reach them. And the local control also gives, public power communities the ability really for accountability and transparency in their operation. It provides the financial support for local government. It's kind of the ability to, if you will, have the utility itself reflect the values of the community in the programs and practices of what you do. And it's an ownership, so the community owns the utility. And that is the huge difference because, of course, if you have an investor-owned utility, some people in different states may own parts of that, but for us, our local community owns the utility, the people in it.
Very cool. Well, can you talk to me more about affordability? Where does Nebraska sit regarding electricity rates?
Absolutely. That's obviously one of the big hallmarks of public power. And, public power utilities are not for profit. So if you look at it the way that it's designed, it's specifically so that all the benefits are going back to the customer rather than to an investor. And Nebraska has the fourth lowest rates in the nation. And on average, believe it or not, when you talk about a residential customer, they only pay about $3.54 per day to power the home and everything in it. Whether it's your cooking or your heating, your cell phones or your entertainment. And if you think about what kind of bargain that is compared to, for example, what you may just be paying for internet service, it's pretty significant.
For sure. Well, we all want the lights to turn on when we flip this switch. What can you tell us about Nebraska's power reliability?
Oh, great question. We consistently rank among the nation's best for power grid reliability. But even if you look at, not only is that on an industry metric, but if you look at, I believe it was maybe May or June, U.S. News and World Reports did a report that said Nebraska was the #1 state in the country for reliability. So it is extraordinarily important. It's a key issue for our customers. And it's something that we invest in on a continual basis.
All right. Well, Kevin Wales with the Lincoln Electric System and Nebraska Power Association, thank you so much for your time and for your continued support of Husker athletics. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we got to step aside for a break here on Husker Game Day. We're back with more coming up right after this.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Farmers Mutual of Nebraska offers quality auto, farm, and home insurance that's based right here in Husker Nation. Enhance your insurance experience by keeping it local. When it comes time to file a claim, having a nearby service team and a prompt claims process makes all the difference. Visit fmne.com to contact an agent for a free, no-obligation quote. Farmers Mutual of Nebraska, always alongside you.
There's no community like a Cenex community. And that's why every Cenex store is so proud to serve theirs by supporting local athletic teams, promoting the arts, and making sure each store is a place its neighbors can find what they need, catch up with their friends, and stay connected. It's also why we give back, helping to make the wonderful places we call home the best they can be. Your local Cenex doesn't just work in your town, it lives there. The store next door, powered locally at Cenex.
With over 75 years of wealth management experience, Bridges Trust understands the value of tradition and legacy. They have built their reputation by helping clients achieve their objectives by providing exceptional service in investment management, trust and estate planning, philanthropic consulting, and family office services. They are in the business to provide specialized, comprehensive wealth advisory services that are in the best interest of their clients to help them grow and preserve their legacies for generations to come. Bridges Trust. Trust for generations.
Pioneer is proud to partner with Iowa and Nebraska in the Pioneer Heroes game on November 24th. This coveted trophy game is about more than winning. It's about those in our local community who inspire us in our everyday lives. From the school bus driver to the volunteer firefighter, there are those that make a difference and, simply put, make our lives better. Every community has their heroes, and Pioneer is proud to honor those who stand as an inspiration to others in the Pioneer Heroes game.
This is Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac. You're listening to Big Red Football.
Hi, this is Husker National Champion and Super Bowl champ Tony Veland. October is National Chiropractic Health Month. Regular chiropractic care has been a game changer for me, both during my career and still today. It's the recommended first treatment for chronic lower back pain over prescription opioids. It's natural, drug-free, and safe for all ages. Discover the difference of chiropractic care. Relieve, restore, resume your life. Learn more at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Stay active with chiropractic.
Woodhouse Nissan offers a convenient and streamlined way to purchase your next vehicle from home. Browse our full lineup online and have your test drive delivered to you. Lease a 2024 Nissan Altima SR for $369 a month for 36 months and 10,000 miles per year. With approved credit, tax, title, and license extra, $4,000 down plus first payment and $299 doc fee due at sign-in. Discounted price based on a sale price of $33,482. $500 NMAC loyalty rebate available towards deal. VIN number RN310868. Offer expires October 31st, 2023. See dealer for details.
It's being well supported by a provider who understands your health interests and goals. It's ensuring you are well connected to a team of caregivers and specialists. It's feeling well cared for by having someone you can turn to who sees you for you. That's the power of being well matched. And that's exactly what CHI Health Clinic's My Provider Match does. Meet the provider who is right for you at myprovidermatch.com.
Caring for the land is one of the most important, fulfilling things a person can do. If you're looking to add more land to your ag operation or refinance existing debt, Dakota Mac can help. For 30 years now, they've been providing long-term, fixed-rate loans for ag real estate. To make things easy, Dakota Mac has an experienced specialist in your area.
Hi, it's Nick Luxinger from Dakota Mac. Call me at 402-740-6445 to learn all about our competitive rates on ag real estate loans.
Tired of worrying about what to make for dinner? Try Gary's Quick Steak. It's delicious, convenient, and easy to make in minutes as it cooks from frozen. It also has over 20 grams of protein per serving, is gluten-free, and is made with real beef and chicken. Enjoy sandwiches, enchiladas, stir-fry, quality sirloin, chicken, and corned beef ready in minutes. Simply sizzle, flip, and savor.
I promise you, if you try it, you're absolutely going to love it.
Visit our website to find a store near you.
This is the sound of a Husker game day. This is the sound of the opposing quarterback getting sacked on game day. This is the sound of someone enjoying a Big Mac. And this is the sound of that same someone getting another Big Mac for free.
All right!
Because the Monday after the Huskers get a sack, Big Mac is buy one, get one free at McDonald's. To review, this is what happens on game day. This is what happens on Monday. This fan is really happy.
All right!
And this is what the lawyers made us say. A la carte only. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
This week's game changer is Nash Hutmaker.
Nash and Ty and Blaze and Cam, we got a lot of guys up in there that are executing at a high level. So anytime you got players that believe in what they're doing and they go out there, you give them a chance to go out there and play fast. I think it's showing up.
6'4", 330-pound defensive lineman.
Sullivan gets the chest high snap, stepping up, being pressured, gets hit, and goes down. Huskers get their first sack of the game. Northwestern has given up the most sacks of any team in the conference. The Huskers get one there from Nash.
At Coleman, South Dakota.
Sullivan gets the snap, back to throw, pumps, gets rushed, gets hit, throws down. Then a sack. Pulled down again by Nash. His second sack of the game, all the way back at the 30-yard line.
Our game changer today, Nash Hutmaker. Hopefully he can continue his dominant stretch up front on the defensive line for the Black Shirts. This week's Husker Athlete of the Week is volleyball player Merritt Beeson. Average 4.25 kills per set in the wins over Northwestern and #1 Wisconsin. What a match last week for John Cook. BMO is a proud sponsor of the Huskers Radio Network. We're committed to helping our customers make real financial progress. To learn more, visit BMO.com. Also need to thank our friends at Nebraska Power. Did you know Nebraska is the only state where every customer is served electrically by locally owned utilities? Public power is something we can all cheer for. Today's Keys to the Game brought to you by Prairie Valley. I think for the Huskers today, it's continuing to handle their business defensively against a tricky offense in Hudson Card and let that offensive line settle in and get that running game going. Keys to today's performance brought to you by Prairie Valley Seeds. Grow without limits. Weather impact today, it's going to be cold. Huskers will have to handle that, and the fans will have to handle that as we change gears here. Fair prices, honest opinions, longer warranties. Omaha's trustworthy company since 1950. That'll wrap it up. Countdown to kickoff coming up next.
This is Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac. You're listening to Big Red Football.
This is the sound of a Husker game day. This is the sound of the opposing quarterback getting sacked on game day. This is the sound of someone enjoying a Big Mac. And this is the sound of that same someone getting another Big Mac for free.
All right!
Because the Monday after the Huskers get a sack, Big Mac is buy one, get one free at McDonald's. To review, this is what happens on game day. This is what happens on Monday. This fan is really happy.
All right!
And this is what the lawyers made us say. A la carte only. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Maybe your hometown celebrates long-standing Swiss traditions. Cow chip throwing. Or even